Stephen A, he's walking around like just because ESPN has padded his pockets with some millions, he's walking around like he's up, like he's an athlete, like he got that kind of cachet. And then, like I said, mentioning guys that obviously I think highly of, talking about Dion and Shannon and these guys I come across with, on a regular. You know what I mean? That's not cool to be name dropping. You know what I mean? Because now I'm around these guys and I'm like, okay, well, how do they really feel about me? You know what I mean? How do they think about me? You know what I mean? So that's where I am with it. You know what I mean? So as he said in this podcast, we don't ever have to speak again.
Okay.
Never, ever.
Terrell Owens didn't drop a rant. No dramatic video, no late night call-in, just 5 words. A single comment under Carmelo Anthony's Instagram post set off one of the wildest celebrity sports beefs of the year. You're shady, too ninja. No emojis, no context.
I remember the one time where things almost this is the one time I almost lost it. When T.O. came on the air and said that Max seemed blacker than me.
And fans instantly knew who he meant. Stephen A. Smith. This wasn't some random shot. This was payback that had been brewing for years. It all goes back to one of the most explosive moments in ESPN history, when Terrell Owens looked Stephen A. dead in the eye on live TV and said what no one had ever dared say before. It almost seems like Max Kellerman is blacker than you. That line didn't just shock the studio. It shook Stephen A.'s entire public image, and the fallout from that single sentence still hasn't faded.
For Colin Kaepernick, again, you mentioned obviously Max is going to get in here, and like I said, I'm in the streets. Max almost seems blacker than you, Stephen A. with what he's coming, with his commentary.
With all due respect, my brother,
I'm just saying, dog.
Wait a minute, wait to finish.
I'm just saying.
I'm gonna check you right now. You don't cross the line.
I'm just saying.
Time. Wait a minute. You don't cross the line. First of all, like I said, you, Colin Kaepernick, Eric Reed, any of y'all that want to debate me in front of black people and talk about what's best for black people, name the time and place, I'll show up. I don't want to hear, what's the definition of blackness? Is there a definitive definition of blackness? Why are you giving the impression that because I don't march lockstep with every single thing that Colin Kaepernick wants? Okay, excuse me, hold on, wait a minute.
I'm not agreeing.
Wait a minute.
I'm not agreeing with everything that Colin Kaepernick has done.
I'm not saying that, but you said, you just sat up there and used an expression, more blacker. Excuse me, I'm from Hollis, Queens, New York City. You ain't the only brother out there that's in the streets. I'm in the streets every day.
I get it.
So let's be very clear, and you damn well know that's the truth. And so my point to you is this. Again, I'm not going to disrespect you.
But to really get why T.O. is still throwing shade years later, and why Stephen A. might secretly deserve it, we have to rewind to the day that cracked their friendship in half. Because behind all the shouting, the catchphrases, and those viral monologues, there's something deeper. A hypocrisy even Stephen A.'s biggest fans are starting to notice. And the craziest part? Stephen A. may have actually proven Terrell Owens right without even realizing it.
Now, I addressed it on the air, but where it almost got dicey, there's a lot of stuff that hasn't been involved with T.O. over the years. And it took everything in me not to go all in.
It was November 2019. First Take was pure chaos. Colin Kaepernick had just organized his own NFL workout after that messy fallout with the league. Stephen A. went off, calling Kaepernick a martyr who doesn't want to work, saying he cared more about being right than being employed. Then Terrell Owens showed up on set, and what started as a sports debate turned into something way deeper. A conversation about who really gets to define blackness in sports media. T.O. wasn't having it. He told Stephen A., "You have a platform, but it's the way you go about it. You were attacking him." Then came the line that froze the whole room. "It almost seems like Max Kellerman is blacker than you." Stephen A.'s eyes went wide.
How do you do that? How do you do that? What the hell is going on?
Silence hit the studio, and then he snapped. "I'ma check you right now. You done crossed the line." That was it. Friendship over. To Stephen A., it was a personal insult to his identity. To Terrell Owens, it was a truth bomb that had to be dropped. Because for him, it wasn't just about race, it was about loyalty, authenticity, and how Stephen A. uses his platform. Owens believed Stephen A. stopped standing up for players and started performing for the cameras. And to millions watching, that First Take moment didn't just show tension between two men. It showed the thin line between a commentator and a performer, but that line kept getting blurrier as time went on. And the next time they crossed paths, things got uglier. After that on-air blow-up, Stephen A. and Terrell Owens never talked again, but the cold energy between them never cooled off. Stephen A. started taking slick little jabs, mocking T.O. on air for wanting attention, even hinting that Owens' money troubles might explain his attitude. And if there's one thing you don't say about Terrell Owens, it's that he's broke. T.O. fired back on all the smoke, saying, "Stephen A. can say what he wants about me, but he's not real. He's corporate, he's performative," and that word, performative, started to stick. More and more people began noticing the same thing about Stephen A. He wasn't just debating anymore, he was acting. The loud voice, the dramatic pauses, the walk-offs, it was all starting to look like theater. Even longtime fans began asking, is Stephen A. even being real anymore? Then came the viral sit-down that reignited the feud. Stephen A.'s emotional conversation with Carmelo Anthony on 7 p.m. in Brooklyn. At first, it looked like Stephen A. was finally being open and talking about his issues with LeBron, his complicated history with Kyrie Irving, and the online hate he's faced. For a second, people thought they were seeing vulnerability. But then, halfway through, Stephen A. did what he always does. He flipped it into a viral soundbite. He said Kyrie was selfish during the COVID saga. He said LeBron was playing both sides with the media. And he claimed, brothers can't have real conversations anymore. It sounded deep, but to people like Terrell Owens, it sounded fake. Because this is the same Stephen A. who spent months dragging Kyrie over his vaccine stance, calling him one of the most irresponsible superstars we've ever seen. Now suddenly he's saying, maybe Kyrie was right? That's not reflection, that's rewriting. And when Carmelo's team posted the clip on Instagram, fans lit up the comment section, calling out Stephen A. for his hypocrisy. Then, buried deep in the replies, Terrell Owens dropped the bomb that lit up the internet. "You're shady too, ninja." Just 5 words, but they said everything. To T.O., this wasn't just about one interview. It was about a pattern. Stephen A. loves to talk about being authentic, but he switches sides the second the optics shift. He says it's never personal, yet somehow it's always personal. He claims to stand for the culture, but too often, he's the loudest one tearing people down. Owens was done watching that play out. He wanted the world to see what he's been seeing for years. But this beef? It's bigger than 2 egos colliding. It's a snapshot of what sports media has turned into. The performer versus the prophet. Stephen A. isn't just a commentator anymore. He's a brand, a walking headline machine powered by outrage, emotion, and viral spectacle. Every time he shouts, it trends. Every time he storms off the set, it becomes a meme. Every heated argument turns into a bite-sized clip made to rack up views. That's not journalism anymore. That's content. And in this new game, truth often takes a backseat to engagement. Meanwhile, Terrell Owens, Terrell, for all his flaws, stands for the opposite. He's messy, he's blunt, but he's real. He doesn't filter his emotions or fake his pain for the cameras. That's why his feud with Stephen A. hits so deep. It's not athlete versus analyst, it's authenticity versus performance. T.O. represents the old school, the generation that got punished for speaking their truth. Stephen A. represents the new world, while where speaking your truth is the business model. When those two realities clash, it's bound to get ugly. Because to Owens, Stephen A. isn't just a hypocrite. He's the symbol of a media machine that rewards fake outrage more than honesty. But here's the question. Is Stephen A. really the villain here, or just a player in a system that demands theatrics? Let's be honest. Stephen A. didn't create this game. He just learned how to win it. He knows the formula. Outrage brings engagement. Engagement brings money. And money buys relevance. Simple math. In that equation, being balanced doesn't pay. Being loud does. So when Stephen A. tears down Kyrie one year and praises him the next, that's not hypocrisy to him. That's survival. When he criticizes LeBron for being political, then calls him a media genius, that's not contradiction. That's strategy. Stephen A. Smith is both a product and a mirror of today's sports culture. One where attention matters more than accuracy and drama sells better than depth. But here's the twist. The same showmanship that made him famous is now making people question him. Fans are wondering, is Stephen A. still saying what he believes, or just what'll go viral next? And when you strip away all the noise, the walk-offs, the yelling, the catchphrases, something wild appears in that reflection. Stephen A. and Terrell Owens aren't opposites at all. They're twins of the same storm. Both are performers. Both feed off attention. Both built careers on controversy. T.O. was once labeled the most polarizing man in football. Stephen A. the same, but in sports media. They're reflections, different games, same DNA. That's why this feud cuts so deep. Every time T.O. calls Stephen a shady, he's also calling out the version of himself that once lived for headlines. And every time Stephen A. snaps back, he reacts like the same thin-skinned athlete he spent decades criticizing. They're two sides of one coin. Authenticity versus performance, pride versus perception, truth versus theater. Maybe that's why this feud will never die, because deep down, both of them are fighting the same war and against irrelevance. In a world that only rewards the loudest voices, who's really winning? Is Terrell Owens right for calling Stephen A. shady, or just mad that Stephen plays the game better than he ever could? Maybe the truth isn't on either side. Maybe it's stuck somewhere in the middle, because Stephen A. might be a showman, but he's also the creation of a system that thrives on noise. Terrell Owens might be raw and real, but let's be honest, he's also hooked on the same spotlight he calls out. His feud with Stephen A. isn't truly about hate. It's about identity. It's about who controls the story in a world where truth and performance have practically merged into one. So maybe the real question isn't who's right. It's what does it say about us that we keep watching both of them go at it? Every time we repost their clips, every time we argue their quotes, every time we tune in for the next viral blow-up, we're feeding the exact same media machine that keeps this circus spinning, because deep down, that's what this is. A reflection of the audience too. We say we want honesty, but what we really click on is chaos. So now it's on you. Is Stephen A. Smith truly hypocritical, or just doing what the business forces him to do? Is Terrell Owens calling out the truth, or just chasing the same attention he claims to hate? Let me know in the comments. I'm dying to see where you stand. And if you want more wild breakdowns like this, a deep dives into the drama behind the headlines, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and I'll see you on the next one.